Now, let's move on to sterilization. Now, for sterilization, basically you want to remove your contaminants. And why do we want to remove these contaminants? So, contaminants utilize substrates and produce unwanted products, reducing the yield. They can later alter the environmental conditions of the media, the pH, the redox potential, etc. Now, lytic contaminants such as the phages, they can lead to destruction of the culture media, especially if your culture media is a bacteria and you become contaminated with phages. So basically, your workers, the bacteria, your biomass that are producing your products are being killed inside by the phages. And so that will be, you will have incredible loss in your culture. Contaminants do not consume the substrate, produce substances or products that cannot be separated properly in downstream processes. So you might have unwanted products. You might not, for example, off-putting odors, unwanted flavor profiles that are caused by contaminants. So in order to remove that, you do sterilization. And what are the different methods of sterilization? So physical methods. Basically, aseptic method is you practice aseptic methods. General cleanliness is routinely observed. So for workers or personnel, they must have proper attire. So these are the lab coats, the masks, the gloves, etc. Now, filtration or rather sterilization of the culture media and some substrates can be done by filtration. So filtration, if used properly, is highly effective and inexpensive. So we have absolute filters or fibrous filters. So absolute filters are ceramic and does not allow microorganisms, but only for small volumes. So they cannot always filter out microorganisms, but they can minimize them. Fibrous filters made up of wool, cotton, glass fibers. They are not absolute, but quite more efficient. So actually, depending on your needs, do you want to use filtration methods? Now, alternative to filtration is using heat. So heat can be dry heat or moist heat. So dry heat, you sterilize the air. So it's a type of air sterilization by compression. So you actually employ the gas laws. So it can be used both small-scale laboratory and large-scale industrial applications. And then you also have moist heat. Moist heat such as thermalization, boiling, or the autoclave. I believe you are already familiar with the autoclave. We usually do that in the laboratory. Now, for thermalization, basically it involves boiling for 30 minutes for 3 consecutive days. This is done to remove spores. Because sometimes even you autoclave something, you do not, for spore-forming bacteria, you do not necessarily remove the spores because spores are very pesky and very resilient types of contaminants. And then pasteurization, they are done in the food industry. So steam can be used also to use, especially the pressurized steam. So again, steam is basically water vapor heated to above 100 degrees. So you have a pressurized steam, usually used for sterilization of equipment in the laboratory and industry. Now, sometimes you do not wish to use steam because it cannot be used for anhydrous soil because again, it's anhydrous. Steam contains a lot of water vapor. So, of course, actually, steam is water vapor, so you do not want that anywhere near your anhydrous soil. Grease and powder. If you want to sterilize powdered substances, do not use steam, of course. You will end up with a sludge. So, we have types of steam. Wet steam, you have, in wet steam, there's insufficient heat that some water vapor can condense. Now, the downside of this one is if you use steam, wet steam to your sterilization procedure, it can dilute your culture media. Then you have saturated steam, all the water is in the vapor phase, and superheated steam, no liquid water present and has a higher temperature than saturated steam. Now, superheated steam is more dependable and efficient to use. Now, physical methods, so this is basically temperature and time, so minimum time and temperature. If you're going to use heat as a sterilization, as a way of to sterilize, this is the type of temperature you have. So 116 for 30. So if you notice, the higher your temperature, the lower the time it needs. So usually have the autoclave. If I remember correctly, the autoclave in the laboratory is programmed for 121 degrees Celsius for 12 minutes. And then the reason why you need to wait 4 hours is because you need to have the autoclave cool down first in order to open it. The cooling down is the one that actually consumes a lot of time during autoclave. So anyway, this is the minimum temperature, or rather minimum time at each temperature. So we can also use radiation. So radiation usually done, UV rays can be done to sterilize your culture. Now the downside for using radiation is that there is a low penetration. It can only penetrate the surface, not the inside. So if you want to sterilize a culture media, it's either you spread out your media into a very, very thin sheet, or don't just use radiation, because you need to because again, the penetration capacity of UVs and even X-ray is very small. So only the surface can be sterilized. Now, gamma rays and X-rays, they are much more expensive to generate. So in doing this, choosing a better or a suitable material to sterilize something, you need to consider, of course, what effect will your media or will your equipment be destroyed, or of course the cost of that sterilization. And then we can also do chemical methods. So chemosterilants, the ideal chemosterilants should be effective at low concentrations. They should not affect the media components. They are easily removable, or the breakdown products of these chemical methods or chemosterilants must be easily removable. They are effective under ambient conditions. They are inexpensive and rapid acting, non-flammable, non-explosive, and non-toxic. So examples, for gaseous chemosterilants, you have ethylene oxide, propylene oxide, beta-propiolactone, formaldehyde, methyl bromide, sulfur dioxide. And then for chemosterilants, chlorines, and phenols. So sterilization of the fermenter and accessories. So for a large fermenter, steam is the most commonly used. So the medium may or may not be sterilized together with the fermenter. So if your medium is heat labile, you do not sterilize it with steam, because you might destroy, for example, some of the substrates there. So you do it in a different manner. You sterilize an empty container and then sterilize your media in a different process. So heat labile media is sterilized using filters or tyndalization, whereas air filters are used to prevent fudge contaminations. Now, like in other processes, you also have continuous sterilization and batch sterilization. And if you notice here, the temperature over time, so for batch sterilization, since it's by batch, so you have a longer time period to do the sterilization. So, of course, you have, if your target temperature is around 121, so you increase your time. Of course, you need to maintain the minimum time requirement at that temperature, and then cool down your sterilized media or sterilized equipment. Whereas for continuous, it's fast, very high at very fast speed. So you have the continuous sterilization. So of course, based on this graph, the ideal is actually a continuous sterilization process. So these are several modes on how you do continuous sterilization. So, for example, you have a raw medium coming inside, and then you inject a steam there. So, during this, while inside the holding section, of course, in here, the temperature increases rapidly, like in the graph. So, you have immediate increase in temperature. And then the holdings section will allow you to allow the steam to operate inside. Expansion valves allows the steam to escape outside, and your sterile medium is done to goes to your flash cooler. And now another way for sterilization. So you have this is more of a continuous section. So you have raw medium incoming to a certain this is a heat transfer equipment. So the raw medium is passed through, whereas the steam is passed through the same section. So you are injecting actually steam there. So this is basically, you're not exactly mixing them in a single vessel, but you are passing them, or rather the heat from the steam here is passed through the raw medium incoming here. So, and then you have the holding section, and then the relatively hot steam goes by here. This relatively hot, not steam, relatively hot raw medium or relatively hot sterile medium will give an initial or priming heat to your incoming raw medium. And then you have a sterile, and then you cool down your sterilized medium with a cooling water. So this is the continuous sterilization method involving heat transfers. So for phages, again, if you are using bacterial culture, you do not want phage contaminations. Otherwise, all of your workers, the bacteria, will be killed off. Or not exactly all, but most of them will be killed off. So viruses can cause economic losses by destroying the microorganisms used in fermentation. This is in the industrial fermentations. So the first general rule is, of course, routine cleanliness and asepsis. And then aerosol sterilizations, because they are viruses. They can, especially for phages, bacterial phages are, again, the viruses that target bacteria. And they are much, much smaller than other eukaryotic viruses. And therefore, they can be transferred in the air. They can transfer through aerosols. So you need to sterilize aerosols and then UV irradiation. So for phage, you can also use phage resistant mutants or modify your organism so that it can be resistant to phages. So inhibition of phages with chemicals, you add non-ionic detergents, ions, and some other metal ions. So these are the different phages. So filamentous phages, you have the iconic alien-like you have a hexagonal head with tails and feet type of phage. You have your filamentous phages. So these are different possible types of phages. Okay, so that's it for this lecture.